Okay, here we go on practice test number 3. Problem number 1 says solve using substitution. Remember that means you're going to get one of the letters by itself. So I'm just going to take the second equation right here, and I'm going to get x by itself. So x equals negative y. Then I'm going to take this negative y, and I'm going to plug it in for the x in the other equation. Do not plug it into the equation you just rearranged. Plug it into the other one. So I will have 2 times negative y plus 3y equals negative 1. So that is what? Negative 2y plus 3y equals negative 1. And y equals negative 1. Now remember, this is not the answer. You need to find x. So I know the y coordinate's negative 1. Remember, we write our answer as an ordered pair. Oops, I'm getting off the screen. Sorry about that. We write our answer as an ordered pair. I know y is negative 1. I know x is the opposite of negative 1, so x must be 1. So x is 1, y is negative 1 is my solution. Now I'm ready for problem 2, which is exactly the same thing, only I am using elimination. So looking at the scenario, I'm going to multiply this bottom row by negative 3. Now why am I going to multiply the bottom row by negative 3? Because when I do that, I get a negative 3y. Now remember, you're multiplying all the way across. So I get negative 9x, negative 3y, negative 15. Or excuse me, positive 15. That's positive 15. When I add that to my top row, notice the y's are gone. That was my goal. That was what I was trying to accomplish. And negative 7x equals 7. Adding straight up and down. So x equals negative 1. So again, my answer is going to be an ordered pair. This time, the x coordinate is negative 1. So I will plug negative 1 back in anywhere I want. If I put it in right here, I'll have 2 times negative 1 plus 3y equals negative 8. So 3y equals negative 6, because this is negative 2. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. And y equals negative 2. So x is negative 1 and y is negative 2. Now I'm going to start the last problem on the page, which is the Cramer's rule problem. Now remember that when we do Cramer's rule, we use a series of determinants. So I'm going to start by setting up a determinant with just the coefficients. So here are my x numbers, and here are my y numbers, right from the problem. 2, 3 are the x's, negative 1, 5 are the y's. Now I evaluate that. 2 times 5 minus 3 times negative 1, I got 13. So whatever x and y are, they are both over 13. So x is something over 13, and y is something over 13. Now, to find those somethings, the numerators, I have 2 more determinants. For the x one, I take out the x numbers in my original determinant, and I plug in the 7 and the 1. So I will have 7, 1, and then negative 1, 5. Evaluating that, 35 minus negative 1, 36. So my x numerator is 36. Now, to get the y, I'm going to do exactly the same thing, only instead of putting the 7, 1 on top of the x's, I'm going to put them right here on top of the y's. So I still have my 2 and my 3, but now I have my 7 and my 1. Remember, whichever letter you are solving for, x or y, that is the column that you replace with these numbers. So I end up with 2 minus 21, negative 19. And there is the answer to the question. Okay. Next. Now we got this list of matrices across the top page here. Remember, what does the test look like? Exactly like the practice test. So you're going to have page 2 of your test is going to have this string of matrices across the top, and you're going to have to do all these things. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is multiply matrix A times matrix D. Now, I need to check to see if I can even do that. So I'm recopying my matrices. Remember, no work, no credit. So we got to make sure we're showing our work. I hope I copied everything right. This is kind of tricky doing it this way. Here we go. This is a 2 by 3. And this is a 3 by 3. And lo and behold, we can multiply. And our answer is going to be a 2 by 3. Remember your rule for multiplication. In order to multiply, these two numbers right here have to match. As long as they match, you can multiply, and the product will be whatever the outside dimensions are. In this case, 2 by 3. Okay, now to find these numbers, we're going to take the first row times the first column. So I'm filling this blank right here, which is in the first row, first column. I'm going to write down all the numbers in the first row, space them out. 1, 2, negative 1. Next to them, I'm going to put the numbers in the first column. I'm going to multiply all those together and add them up. So I have 1 plus 6 plus 0, that's 7. All right, now I'll move over to the next spot, which is in the first row, second column. So again, I'll copy down the numbers in the first row. Sorry, here they are, first row. Here they are, copied down. Then the second column, I'm going to add them up. So I have a 2 and a 4, that's a 6, minus 1, 5. Now guess what? First row, third column. So here's my 1, 2, negative 1 again. That's my first row. And now I have a negative 1, a 1, and a 2. And that adds up to negative 1 plus 2 minus 2, which is negative 1. Okay, now I'm going to do the exact same thing, but I'm going to use my second row because now I am filling in the second row of numbers. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to recopy my second row and my first column. Adding them up, I get 0, 9, and 0, so that's a 9. Second row, second column, 0, 3, 4, 2, 2, 1. That's a 0, a 6, and a 4, so that'll be a 10. And last but not least, second row, third column. 0, 3, and 8, that looks like an 11. And there we go. We have multiplied A times D. Now, obviously, I've kind of encroached on the area for problem B, which is C plus 2A. But what do you notice about C plus 2A? I hope you tell me they cannot be added. They cannot be added because C is a 2 by 2, and 2A would be a 2 by 3. Those could be multiplied, but they cannot be added because the rule for addition is the dimensions have to be exactly the same. In other words, the size of the matrix has to match. And C and A do not match, so therefore they cannot be added or subtracted. Now, problem C, this is a different scenario. Problem C can be done because 2b will be -2, 4, 6, and 2. Remember, when you multiply by 2, you take everything times 2. And then we're going to subtract 3c. And notice this is a 2 by 2 and this is a 2 by 2, so they can be subtracted. And when I subtract them, I will do it number by number, position by position. So -2 minus -6. -2 minus -6. That will be 4. -2 plus 6. 4 minus 6. 6 minus 15. And 2 minus 3. There is the answer to the question. The next problem wants the inverse of the matrix. Now, the inverse of the matrix, recall that that is a two-step process. So the first thing we do is find the determinant of B. So we multiply and subtract. I got -7. I take -1 times 1, 3 times 2, and subtract those. So -1 minus 6, -7. So my answer is going to be -1/7 times a new matrix. And I will find that new matrix by taking these two numbers, these two right here, and switching them. Now, I'm not switching their signs. It kind of looks that way, but I'm physically changing their positions. They're switching spots. The other two, I changed their signs. Remember, these two get flip-flopped. These two get their signs changed. So then I end up with -1/7, +2/7, +3/7, and +1/7 when I put everything in here over a -7. -2b. Easy. We're just going to take -2 times everything in B. So here's B. We're taking -2 times everything in it. So we'll get 2, -4, -6, -2. And finally, the last problem on the page says multiply B times D. Now just look at that for a minute. What are the dimensions of B? 2 by 2. What are the dimensions of D? 3 by 3. Remember, in order to multiply, these have to match. Do they match? They do not. So therefore, you cannot multiply those matrices. All right. Excuse me. Now we are going to evaluate this big determinant. So remember, we recopy the first two columns. Just like that. Recopy these two sets of numbers. Now watch, if you don't know how to do this, pay attention. I'm going to multiply these three numbers together and I get 9. Notice where I started, right here. Multiply and get 9. Multiply and get -4. Multiply and get 0. Total them up, I have 5. Now go the other way. Multiply together, I get 24. Multiply, I get -2. Multiply, I get 0. Total them up, I get 22. Now subtract those two numbers. And the answer to the problem is -17. Remember, you do all of these, total them up. Then you do all of these, total them up. Then you subtract. Okay, now we got some vocab. Please note that questions like this are on every practice test. Please don't miss these questions on your test. This should be the easiest points. Is B square? No. Why not? It does not have the same number of rows as columns. If you are going to be square, you must have the same number of rows as columns. This does not, because its dimensions are 3 rows and 4 columns. This is a 3 by 4. If you want to be square, you need to be a 3 by 3 or a 4 by 4, not a 3 by 4. Oh, sorry, that's question C. Those are the dimensions. Thank goodness for erasers. I skipped question B. What is B sub 2,3? B sub 2,3 is the entry in matrix B that is in row 2, column 3. Roman Catholic, row, column. So I want to be in the second row and the third column. So here is the second row, here is the third column. The number is -2. -2 is the number that is in the second row and the third column. A scalar is simply any real number. Remember, if we had 2b, 2 would be the scalar. It's just a number. It's like a number, just a number. What's a matrix? This question is on every practice test. Define matrix. A matrix is a rectangular array of numbers. If you don't know that already, learn it. Do not make me mark that wrong. Okay. All right. I'll go ahead and add some columns in here. Something didn't come out so well here. There we go. Okay. Now, I promised you that on your test, if there is a question, they do not all have this fixed interval, But on the practice test, we've seen a lot of that. If that is part of your test question, I will fill that in for you. So it says you must do at least 3 type A questions. So I'm going to let these be X and these be Y. The A's are X and the B's are Y's. You must do at least 3 A's, but not, or you can't do more than 12. So you have to do between 3 and 12. So again, if that confuses you, don't stress about it. I'm going to fill that part in for you. But I hope it makes sense to you, because the problem says you have to do at least 3, but not more than 12. So that means you have to do in between 3 and 12 of the type A questions. And then we have to do at least 4, but less than 15, of the Y questions. You can do no more than 20 questions, so your total questions are 20. X plus Y has to be less than or equal to 20. Your total questions, that implies that adding them up, X plus Y, has to be less than or equal to 20. This is going to get graphed. This is going to get graphed. And then what are these 2 extra blanks for? What are they always for? X is positive, Y is positive. You don't need to graph that because I've already done it for you by setting up the grid the way I have here in quadrant 1 only. But you do need to write those down if you want to get those easy points. Now, what am I maximizing? My score. And how do I calculate my score? Well, it says questions of type A have a value of 10, and questions of type B have a value of 25. So I get 10 points for every X and 25 points for every Y. That is how I will calculate my score. Maximize score. Maximize score. Okay, here we go. We're ready to graph. Hopefully I can get all this on the screen here. All right, so here we go. I'm going to use my red pencil. And I'm going to graph this, I'm going to graph this guy right here in red. So he says X is between 3 and 12. So all of the X's have to be between 3 and 12. So all of the X's are going to be in here. Okay. Now I'm going to do this one, which says all of my Y's are in between 4 and 15. So all of my Y's now are in here. So far, do you see this box right here? In between the red lines and the green lines, that's the area we're looking at so far. But we have one more thing to graph. We have this guy. Okay, so I'm going to cover up the X. If I cover, let me do it on this side. If I cover up the X, it says Y is 20. So I'm going to have to extend my line a little bit. That's okay. So there would be 17, 18, 19, 20 right there. And then, I'm going to have to extend this one a long way. Wish I had a ruler. Oh well, so there's 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So I'm going to connect those two dots that are a long way apart from each other. And that one is shaded below. Now remember, you have already told me, that we're inside this box here. So if I shade inside the box below the line, I am going to end up with this area right here shaded. So my corners are going to be here, and here, and here, and here, and here. So I have five. I have 5 corners. Now, some of those corners are very easy to identify. For example, this point right here is the point where x is 3 and y is 4. So that's the point 3, 4. This point, ditto, very easy. X is 12, y is 4. This point, ditto, easy. X is 3, y is 15. Now, these 2 points are not so easy. However, pay attention. You know on this red line right here, this red line, you know x is 12. So on that point right there, you know that the x is 12. Well, remember, they have to add up to 20. So y must be 8. Now, you can say to me, well, it doesn't look like that on the picture. Well, that's because I had to extend my grid, and I didn't do it very carefully. That's because I didn't use a ruler on any lines. I used an envelope or whatever. Okay? So again, I'm not trusting my picture. I know that x is 12, and I know that on the blue line, they have to add up to 20. So if x is 12, y has to be 8. Same thing here. Only on this point, I know the y is 15. If the y is 15, look here. See? Y is 15. If y is 15, then x has to be 5. Any point on that blue line has to add up to 20. Now I'm going to take out my calculator, and I am going to evaluate the score for each of these points. Now remember, every x is worth 10, and every y is worth 25. So I will take 10 times 3 plus 25 times 4, and that is 130. So right there at that point, my score would be 130. All right, so now I'm going to do 12 times 10 plus 4 times 25. 220. 3 times 10 plus 15 times 25. 405. 12 times 10 plus 8 times 25. 5 times 10 plus 15 times 25. So, the question was, how many of each type of question must I do? Well, if I want to maximize my score, right here it is. So I am going to do 5 type A questions, do 5 type A, and 15 type B for a score of 425. We have to answer the question, guys. And the question is, how many of each type must I do, and what will my score be? Right there it is. That's the high score. If, for some crazy reason, we wanted the minimum, we would go with 3 and 4 because that gave us the lowest score. There are problems where you want the minimum, but not in this case. This is a test question. Alrighty. Now, last one is our calculator exercise. So remember, for the calculator problem, all you need to do is tell me what matrix you're putting in. Okay. So what matrix am I putting in? And then I'm going to RREF, and a matrix is going to come out. And then I'm going to have my answer, which in this problem is going to be EF, G, and H. All right? So here we go. Make sure you pay attention. I'm putting in, I'll label them up here, E, F, G, and H, and then I'll have my equals number over here. That's what's going into this matrix. If something is missing, we'll have to put in a 0. So I have 1, 2, -3, 1, -8. That's the top row. Then I have 1, 1, -1, -1, -1. Now notice in row 3, I'm missing an F. So 2, 0, -3, 4, 2. And Lordy, in the bottom row, I am missing E and F. So 0, 0, 1, -1, 2. That's my bottom row. Now, once you get the matrix written down, we're going to go to the calculator. I'm going to try to do this here. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, don't know. So I'm going to put this matrix in, so I turn my calculator on. Oh yeah, it's hard for you to see, isn't it? All right, so I'm going to press second matrix. And then I'm going to choose the edit option. So I'm going to go across to edit, press enter. Okay, now it's asking me the dimensions. My matrix has 1, 2, 3, 4 rows and 5 columns. So it's a 4 by 5. And now I'm just going to put in all these numbers. So I'm just going to put in my 1, 2, -3, 1, -8, and 1, 1. I'll shut up so you can type. Now, once you get the last number in, once you get this 2 right here put in and you've pressed enter, then I want you to second quit. That takes you back to the home screen. Then go back into second matrix and click over 1 so that math is highlighted. Go down the list, use your arrow button, till you find RREF. Press enter. Go back to second matrix. Press enter. So now it looks like this. Press enter. And it produces a new matrix that you're going to write down. 1, 0, 0, 0, 4. 0, 1, 0, 0, -3, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, and 0, 0, 0, 1, 0. So it looks like that. And that tells me my answer. So E is negative 4. Oh, excuse me, positive 4. Whoa, I don't know where I got the negative. E is 4. F is negative 3. G is 2. H is 0. There's the answer to the question. And, my friends, that is practice test 3. Hope you have a great day.